Hello, and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is October 16th, 2024. This is episode 294. Stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser, and dreamer, Paul Green coming to you. Back on video, everybody. And I am now back from Iowa. If you follow the podcast, which was why I was not on video the last couple of nights. It just was not really a good situation to try to set up a video. I was in this Airbnb, pretty nice Airbnb, all things considered. But anyway, I am back in town, back in Arizona, and let's talk about something. So, where do I begin? So, about a month ago, I went to Iowa with my buddy Josh, ironically enough, the same guy who brought me out to Iowa this last time for a film shoot that he's involved in. And so we fly to Iowa to do some comedy shows of the Midlife Crisis Comedy Show. And when we get to the airport, he goes into the TSA Precheck lane, and I go into the general boarding lane, and he goes, "Wait, you're not TSA Prechecked? Why aren't you TSA Prechecked?" And, I told him something, like, I looked into that once. I don't remember how long ago it was. Like, several years ago, I was like, wait, what's this TSA Precheck business? You get to kind of skip a lot of the security lines. And for whatever reason, whenever I looked into it several years ago, I remember there was something like, oh, you have to set an appointment. And when I looked at the schedule, it seemed like something I had to schedule out like 3 months or something. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to do all those background checks. And I just went, yeah, that just seems like a big hassle. I travel fairly regularly, but it's not like, I'm on an airplane every week or something. It's like maybe I take an airplane 3 or 4 times a year, maybe. So, for whatever reason at that time, I just didn't really feel like it was that important. I didn't think I'd traveled enough. I didn't want to go through the hassle. And I didn't really see a whole lot of benefit of doing it, right? So that was the first thing that happened on that flight with Josh Novi. The second thing that happened is I have not used a standard carry-on luggage bag for, gosh, I can't even remember the last time I have. 15 years. I used to have luggage. So when I served my Mormon mission, I bought like a standard 3 suitcase luggage conglomerate. I don't know why I use that word. You had like the big suitcase, the garment bag, and the carry-on bag. And when I went on my mission, this was pre-9/11. And you could just check as many bags as you want. You guys remember those days? You could check 2 bags, and you could bring a carry-on and have a personal item. So it's like I had a backpack, a carry-on, a garment bag, and the big suitcase that I had for my Mormon mission. Then, of course, 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden, all the airlines couldn't make money anymore. And then, all of the bag fees started coming, and you had to pay for bags or whatever. But somewhere, I don't remember necessarily when, I just stopped using a carry-on. I don't even know I don't even know what happened to that luggage. I probably gave it away when I moved out to LA, because I gave away a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I travel so seldomly, and when I do, I travel so light. I don't need a big suitcase. I don't need a big garment bag. I'll just use like a backpack and a double bag. So again, for about the past, I don't remember how long, 10, 15 years, every time I've traveled, I either just use like my backpack and a duffel bag. And so I'm on this trip with Josh a month ago, and I had this duffel bag. And at the time, I was traveling with a bunch of podcast equipment. I had like 2 of these arms. I had like 2 of these microphones. I had my my mixer. I had cords. I had the tripod. And, you know, it's a pretty heavy duffel bag or gym bag. I just use like my Under Armour gym bag to travel with, like that in a backpack. So I have all of these, you know, it's just having this over my arm, and I'm just walking with it. And that's how I've traveled for years. Never had one of those never had a roller, you know, carry-on thing that, you know, 80-90% of every traveler uses. So the first thing Josh says to me is, why aren't you TSA pre-checked? And why the heck are you lugging a duffel bag around? And my excuse at the time, or so I thought, was, oh, well, with my gym bag, I get a little bit more space because it's not like this confined rectangle that all the carry-ons are. And that way I know I can fit like this podcast arm, and I can fit a tripod in there. And then it's like easier for me to like get it in the overhead. And in my mind, in my little pea-sized brain was thinking that I was actually somehow getting more space using my gym bag as a carry-on than if I used an actual carry-on bag. And I got to tell you, I hated lugging that thing around. It was so heavy, and I'm just throwing it over my shoulder. It was inconvenient. I remember every time, like, when I would get on the plane and have to walk down the aisle, I had this big gym bag that's just awkwardly hanging off my hip, and sometimes it would, like, bump somebody in the shoulder, and I would feel, like, so self-conscious, and I would have to, like, lift it up and, like, hold it in front of me. And I'm walking through terminals and airports and out to parking lots, lugging this big, gigantic monstrosity of a bag through major international airports. And so again, Josh is like, why aren't you TSA pre-checked? And why the heck why don't you have like a carry-on bag? And again, I gave him that same song and dance. I was like, oh, TSA pre-check, that's too hard to get. And oh, a carry-on bag, well, then I wouldn't be able to, like, you know, bring these podcast arms and my tripods and stuff because they're too big and they won't fit in a carry-on. And Josh was like, all right, whatever. So last week, I go to Staples to buy something for, like, my computer or something. Like, totally a random thing. And when I'm at the Staple, there's a big sign that says, hey, you can get TSA pre-checked here. I thought, oh, you know, if I could do it here, maybe I should just look into that again, because it's been years. And again, Josh's voice is kind of in my head. It's just like, dude, why aren't you pre-checked? It makes it so much easier to travel. So I'm like, well, at least I'll talk to the people at Staples and just find out how much of a hassle this is. How long am I going to have to wait for an appointment? What's the process going to be like? All of this sort of narrative that I had created in my mind based off of whatever it was I thought was the reality when I had looked into getting TSA pre-checked several years ago. And the Staples lady goes, oh yeah, we can get you in this afternoon as a walk-on or like a walk-in. She's like, do you have your passport with you? And I just said, oh, no, I don't have it on me. She's like, well, yeah, if you either have your passport or we need 2 forms of identification, then you can just walk in and we can get the appointment done and run the background checks and all that stuff. But wait, it's that easy? Well, I don't have my passport on me, but I have my passport at home and my house is like 2 miles away. She's like, yeah, if you can get in before 5 o'clock, you should be fine. We can get you as a walk-on. So I drive home. I grab my passport. I drive back to Staples. I grab my passport. She goes, oh, cool. just go see Greg or whatever his name was. She does the whole, Greg, you got a TSA Precheck over at the blah, 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 blah. So I walk over to the TSA Precheck section of Staples. I hang out there for about 5 minutes. Then this dude comes over. He's like, boom, he logs in a little computer. He, let me see your passport. He scans it. He scans, he has like this electronic fingerprint scanner. So much cooler than the old ink method for where I got my passport, right? So he just does my fingerprints and then, takes the picture. I'd pay him $70. And he goes, all right, cool. He's like, because you have your passport, those have a tendency to get cleared a little faster, so you could get cleared. It usually takes about 5 business days. Oh, wait a minute. So this was like last Wednesday, and I'm going, oh, I'm actually flying to Iowa on Monday night. I'm like, does that mean there's a chance I could be TSA pre-checked before my flight on Monday? I'm going, but I already bought my tickets. How does that work? He's like, oh, yeah, it's super easy. You just go in there and, either call them and check in and just add your, you have like a pre-check number, and then they'll update your boarding pass, and then you'll have the TSA pre-check in there. So that's number one. So I do the TSA pre-check. And it just so happened that Staples, very wisely, by the way, right next to their TSA pre-check, section of the store, right next to it, they have a little luggage section for sale. And they have all of this luggage. And they have all these carry-on bags that happen to be on sale. And I'm going, well, maybe I should look into getting a carry-on bag again. But, I travel a lot again with my recording equipment, my podcasting equipment, my tripods. I need to make sure that these carry-on bags will fit my tripods and my stuff. And it just so happened that I had my tripod, the one that's holding my camera right now, in my car. Because I always have tripods and stuff with me because I'm always filming my stand-up comedy, and I'm always... So anyway, it's not uncommon that I have my tripods in my car. And, I totally forgot this. When I went home to grab my passport, I also grabbed this podcast arm to also see if it would fit in one of those carry-on bags. So I do my TSA pre-check. I go back out to my car. I grab my tripod and I grab this podcasting arm. I go back into the Staples. I pull out one of the carry-ons just to see if they fit. And sure enough, my tripod fit and the podcast arm fit perfectly. And all of a sudden I'm going, you're telling me I have been lugging a gym bag of heavy tripods and podcasting arms and stands that, the metal will like dig into my hip when I have this big strap over my shoulder and I'm walking through international airports, sore shoulders, bearing the whole weight and brunt of my gym bag, of my luggage, also with the backpack. And it would always happen to where, like, I would have the strap over my backpack, and then, if I try to, like, take my backpack off, it wouldn't come off because the straps would, it was mayhem. But that's how I had been traveling for years and years and years and years and years. So now, I get my TSA pre-check. It took me, like, 10 minutes after I had my passport. There is this really nice, like, luggage section. So I look at all of the different prices and stuff, and I find this great carry-on that I like. And, it's got the 4 wheels that, spin 360. So it's just so easy to glide, or you can lean it and carry it behind you, or you can push it in front of you, and it just on those 4 wheels, and they move every direction, and it fits my tripod. It fits everything. And 2 days later, I get an email from TSA saying they approved my pre-check. Here's my number. I call the airline. No, I don't. I go onto the app of the airline, just see like, well, how easy is it to add this pre-check after the flight has already been purchased? And it's like, I clicked on manage flight and I scroll down and it's like, do you need to add your pre-check number? Type it in right here. I type it in right there and it's like, bloop, 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 bloop. You're approved. And then I look at my boarding pass and it says right there, TSA Precheck. So on Monday, for the first time in my life, I go to the airport. I go through TSA Precheck, and I have a carry-on bag that's fitting everything I needed to fit, and it's on wheels, and it's just the easiest. I'm just walking through this airport like I'm walking on sunshine because I'm not having to lug a big, gigantic gym bag over my shoulder, and I get into the pre-check, and honestly, there actually wasn't much of a regular security line anyway. There was a decent one, though, maybe 10 people. But the TSA Precheck, there was 2 people. I go into TSA Precheck. Now, I didn't know this about TSA Precheck, but not only do you get your own little line, which is much shorter, but they give you this card, which also means you don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take your belt off. You don't have to take your laptop out of your bag. Now, this was extra perks I didn't even know were part of the TSA Precheck, which means I don't have to take my freaking shoes off. And there is nothing more annoying than having to go through that security check and having to take your shoes off. And they don't really provide seating for you on the other side. You have to go find a seat. So you're walking around with bare feet at the airport to find somewhere to sit just to put your shoes back on. And I just go through the X-ray. I hand them my little card. It's kind of like I'm on the Insiders Club. There comes my carry-on bag with the wheels. And I'm going, this has made my travel burden so much easier. So much easier. And what's so fascinating to me is it was right there for the taking for me for years and years and years and years. There was absolutely nothing preventing me from easily getting TSA Precheck except $70. It costs $70, I think, a year. And getting a carry-on with wheels. I think I spent $60 on that carry-on. It was on sale down from $180. Oh, and I got a little coupon because I got TSA Precheck. So they're like, you get $10 off of the luggage if you buy luggage because you're TSA Precheck. So it was on sale, and I got an extra $10. So the carry-on cost me $45 or something. And and just the sheer convenience of all of that was actually really significant. And when I came back from Iowa, I actually came back on the same flight with Josh, and I told him all this. And I'm going, Josh, do you remember a month ago when you're like, Paul, why aren't you pre-checked? And why the heck are you lugging a gym bag around? Why don't you have a carry-on with some wheels on it? And I've really had to think about that because here's the lesson, everybody. It's really shocking to me how much better our lives can be. There are so many little things that we could do just to make our lives a little bit better and a little bit more enjoyable. And yet, for some reason, it is so easy to fill our heads. I'll talk about myself. Let me stop preaching. I'm going to talk about myself. I am shocked about how many things in my life could have been so much easier and so much better. However, what prevented me from making them that way was just some narrative going on in my head. A narrative that was actually entirely fabricated or just downright false. I didn't think that I could have a carry-on bag because I didn't think that my tripod would fit in a carry-on bag. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I never tested it. just for some reason I thought that and believed it, and then just allowed myself to suffer in airports for years and years and years. And for some reason, I had it in my head that to get TSA Precheck was just too arduous and too long and too inconvenient. And so I just never did it. And yet, when I actually just went and did it, it turns out it was so much easier to get that pre-check. And it turns out that having a carry-on bag with wheels is actually so much easier to travel with than a gigantic gym bag over my shoulder. And the carry-on fit everything. It was better than what I expected. So what is the lesson to myself? So I talk so much on this podcast about going for your dreams and pursuing what's in your heart, going out there, going for life for whatever it is. And I look back on my life about how many times I wanted to do something, how many times I wanted to pursue something, how many times I thought of something greater happening to me, and that narrative would come in, that fabricated narrative, wherever it came from, whether it was taught to me, whether it was in, somebody else or some other institution or whatever, or culture or whatever, influencing this narrative in my head that made me believe that it was not even worth trying because it was going to be too hard, too inconvenient, or it was not a possibility for me, and that I just had to stay with the status quo, just stay how I am, just keep doing things the way that I've always done them, because I'm not the type of person who gets to have TSA Precheck and gets to have a nice, convenient carry-on bag. No. I need to suffer, because to get that TSA Precheck and get that carry-on bag, it's just too much. It's just too much work. It's too much work. It's too inconvenient. I can't afford it. I don't have the time. If I get it, I won't be able to. It's gonna prevent me from bringing my tripods, and it's gonna mean that I can't do X, Y, Z. All of this narrative, and none of that ended up being true. And the end result was, man, that was the easiest airline traveling I've ever done. So I am thinking a lot about these dreams that I have and going for them. And now I have to ask myself, is there something preventing me from really going for what I want? Do I have some narratives going on? Do I have some, other people get TSA Precheck, but not me? And that is what I'm going to be focusing on moving forward through this week. And I hope perhaps if there is something in your life that you want, that you think would make your life better, would be an improvement in your life, but something's holding you back, you have some narrative, I'm going to challenge you to challenge that narrative and at least just test it. See if it's true. Investigate. Is TSA really that hard to get? Will my tripod actually not really fit in a carry-on bag? Oh, it will fit in a carry-on bag, and TSA Precheck is actually really easy to get. And it's significantly more convenient. All right, everybody. I'm going to leave it there. I know I have been commentating on the book, The Magic Mindset, but I'm running a little low on time tonight. I got some more stuff to get done since I've been out of town for so long. So I'll end it there. I'll talk about the Magic Mindset again tomorrow after my show, which, man, I've got some incredible shows coming up. I'm super excited. I'm going to be doing improvisational comedy at JP's Comedy Club tonight. That would be Thursday night, October 17th at 7 p.m. And then I'm going to be doing stand-up at JP's on Friday and Saturday. It's going to be just a great weekend of comedy performance that I'm really looking forward to. And I will be focusing on that, but I will be talking more about the magic mindset as time dictates. But for now, let's adopt the mindset of, hey, maybe TSA Precheck ain't that hard to get. And maybe I should just go for it. And maybe my dreams aren't as hard to get as maybe I'm making them out to be in my head, and maybe I should just go get them. All right, everybody. That's all for today. I love you all so much. It is October 16th, 2024, episode 294 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. Love you all so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.